Good afternoon, paranormal community, and thank you for partaking in this amazing episode of the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my amazing co-host, Mr. Anthony Hernandez. Good afternoon, Anthony.
Good morning. I'm doing well.
There's that chipperness that was missing earlier.
See, I was trying to bring that. You keep saying I'm too monotone there, so
too morose, I believe, would be the proper terminology. Yes, we need to put that energy in your step. And as you can see, great response to that one. I know just how to do it though, with our two amazing guests. And we don't need to talk anymore because we need to bring these two on. So much to talk about.
Yes.
So I know everybody knows Grant. Everybody knows Grant. If you're in the paranormal and you don't know who Grant Wilson is, you haven't been paying attention. Obviously, paranormal investigator, ghost hunters, A&E's ghost hunters, other shows, they bring him on to boost up ratings. So author, lecturer, musical composer. I mean, I guess he wanted to expand his horizons a little bit, but what people don't know is that his amazing wife Rihanna, producer on Ghost Hunters, been a paranormal investigator and researcher just as long as Grant. Been right there with him the entire time. Intuitive, even though that's not something she likes to boast about. But so I want to bring these two on because what you're about to hear is going to be more amazing than anything you and I could ever do. And so we all need to learn here. So please welcome to the show, Grant and Reanna Wilson.
Hey!
Thanks for having us.
No pressure, Michael. Jeez.
Did I do all right?
You did fantastic.
Thank you.
Even the Russian judge says 10 out of 10. Good job.
Yes. So to just dive right into this. So one of the things that you guys have been doing, which I'm so jealous of in every way, shape, and form, is you are international ambassadors with Mysterious Adventures Tours.
Correct.
Maria has been on the show multiple times to talk about it. Love her to death. Can't wait to have her back on. And I need to know how you got that gig. Because I'm in the paranormal. I investigate. I would never be able to sell tickets like you two, but she might be able to overlook it if she's in a bind. So, like, when she came to you, I'm assuming she did anyway, and was like, "This is what I would like you to do." Like, how did that whole thing happen?
Fair enough. Well, we answered an ad in the newspaper. Through 37 interviews, we were able to rise to the top. No, it was interesting. Thanks for having us on, by the way.
Yes.
Always a good time chatting with you guys. We were actually, ever since COVID, we have been, before we've been investigating the paranormal, we've been heavy researchers, and we always champion the humanity of it all. But we've been kind of nose to the grindstone, really researching our own questions because we've kind of ignored those over the years in lieu of helping other people. And COVID made us just stop. We couldn't film, we couldn't investigate, we couldn't lecture, we couldn't do anything. Couldn't even go to the store. And so we really started researching and experimenting and doing a lot of amazing things. And one of the things that we had always wanted to do is we want to share what we know without shoving it down people's throats. But we love to travel. We love to experience the world. We love to experience the cultures, and we've always wanted to travel with that paranormal perspective. One, to try all the crazy foods around the world because we like to cook and like to eat, but also to experience the culture and the the spirituality of the different cultures, the different perspectives. We were researching heavily into ancient cultures and how they handled belief. And so to go to these different countries, to travel the world would be great. But of course, that's not easy to do. And so we're like, man, if only we could just travel the world, experience these cultures, learn and teach with like-minded people. We're like, that would be awesome.
It just kind of became a thing we were just talking about all the time. Like,
Yeah.
how do we make
How do we make this happen?
And, yeah.
And then we get this message from Maria, and she's like, hey, guess what? I have a travel company that tours the
We
world.
didn't know her.
And she was kind of, yeah, we didn't really know her. But she's so down to earth, and she's so powered by love and light rather than money and greed and ego, that we just clicked. And it was really, really crazy because it was exactly what we had been wanting to do. It's been exactly what we've been hoping for. And here comes this lady, and she's like, here, do this. Not only you get to do it, but we'll pay you to do it too. And not ridiculous, but it's like, this is the winnest win. How do we ignore this? And so we've been doing it, and it's been a fantastic journey. It's cool because when she first came to us, her company was relatively young, and she'd done some tours with great success. But it was more about kind of like, let's explore the spooky, strange, it was much more like a ghost huntery where we came in and we were really talking with her, and we've become great friends more than just ambassadors. And it's neat to see how the company is kind of transforming into more about transformational tourism. Instead of just trying to go to spooky places with a bunch of equipment, it's experiencing the culture, experiencing their specific types of spirituality, how they do the paranormal.
Their lores and legends. And
right. And it's just been fantastic. So all you have to do, Michael, is just wish for it hard enough, I guess, and Maria will come calling. I don't know. That's all we do.
She picks up on it. Yeah.
I don't know about that. Strategic positioning has always been my go-to.
Yeah. I mean, we did some work to kind of be on her radar, I guess. We did a little bit, but honestly, the timing was amazing because you ask anyone who we've gone on these trips with, and we learn just as much from them as they learn from us. And everyone comes back transformed and better off. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of good times. There's a lot of deep conversations on the bus and at the locations. And there's a lot of transformation, a lot of crying and healing that happen on these tours. And we did not expect that going in. We thought we were just going to cruise around, maybe help people see things a little bit deeper than they normally do.
And it's not just like a blubbering, we're going to open our souls on these trips. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's just, you have these bus rides to the destinations, and, we like to do what we call firesides in the evenings, and we gather in a spot in a hotel or restaurant nearby, and we're there. People can ask questions and talk to us and whatever. And
those conversations are wild.
Yeah. And it's healing and amazing for us as well as the travelers, because you're not looked at weird for the questions you're asking.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that go on these trips, sometimes they can't talk to their friends about experiences they've had or thoughts that they have, or even their family members. And so they're in a space where they can talk about it now, and it's not weird. And here you can understand your experience a little better. And that in and of itself can be a very healing thing, plus you're experiencing these other cultures, and it makes you appreciate what you have and where you are in life and like all of these things. So it's just, there's so much there. It's really fascinating.
And what's neat too is that as we travel and we talk with people and we experience these cultures, all the research and experimentation already stands on its own as far as we're concerned, but it just resonates with people. And then you dive into these cultures and you see the same systems you're teaching people. You see the evidence of it in these ancient cultures, and it just is offers that validation that we have come to the right conclusions. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And you're gonna see, Michael. It's gonna be a blast. There'll be you'll have these deep conversations, or you'll see someone healing from some deep, mental wound or something, and then someone drops a fart joke too, and it's all over the place. It's a roller coaster ride of
It's a lot of fun.
amazingness. So it's a good time.
And I do get blubbery sometimes too. Like, you have to.
I wouldn't call it blubbery.
Well,
Emotional, maybe.
yeah, it's crazy.
I will point out right now that when we all go to Prague, for these fireside chats,
Yeah.
you're gonna need to set aside like an hour earlier for me, and then everybody else can come in after that.
We can do that.
Well, what's funny is though, a lot of people will come and they'll want to hear what's said, but they're like creeping, right? They just kind of want to be there and see what's said rather than participate. So even if it's just the three of us talking, everyone watching, like they're going to learn. We're all going to learn. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I did not know that was in the itinerary. Now I'm even more pumped. Like I said, I have questions, lots of them. So
we're here.
I know that you guys have been on a lot of different tours, Romania, Ireland. I would like to focus in on, coincidentally, the tours that I missed for whatever reason. And this is in the last year and a half, starting with your Greece trip, because I saw that and I'm like on the bucket list, and I read the itinerary and I'm like, turned out as a little too expensive for me at the time.
Fair enough.
And I am not embarrassed to say that I shook my fist in condemnation at all of your photos from that trip, because it looked like you guys are having an amazing time. But one of the things that struck me, and I don't know if I would have been able to do it, is you guys participated, like Maria, I don't know if she intentionally scheduled it or it was just such a great coincidence that she was able to add it, but you guys participated in like a ritual.
Yes.
Mysteries. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And not like you didn't just observe it. Like you guys had to go through like
we had to prepare. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had to prepare. Like you were a part of this. And what was it? And kind of like what was that like for you and the rest of the group to have to be a part of it as opposed to just watching it?
Yeah, so that's the thing, is we want immersion, right, where we can get it. And rather than just go take the picture and buy the t-shirt and come home, we want them to experience some aspect of the culture. And some places, the travelers, some places are easier to do that than others. And we actually were set to go to Greece at a different time. And then we found that we could do this, I guess, a ritual. We could do this at the proper time when the ancient Greeks did it. We didn't move the trip because of that, but we had to move the trip, and we were able to put it right at this point. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And we try to fit that in every trip. But.
Yeah. Catherine, she's what do you say?
Catherine Sorilos. She's a
Hecate priestess.
Yeah.
And so she sent everyone rules of things we had to do to prepare.
And participation was voluntary.
It was voluntary. But you had to refrain from meat for a week, which I was like, okay, so we're traveling on a plane. Food on the plane is limited. Okay. And, and then you get to Greece and, it's Mediterranean, so you can get away with it, but
they pride themselves on their meats.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't for very long. It wasn't for very long.
No intimacy.
Hanky panky had to stop.
Hanky panky. For a week. And what else was there? Those were the two big things.
And you had to wear white.
Had to wear white on the day. So we packed, our white clothes to be able to do that. And keep in mind, like, we had to start this before we left on the trip. And then we had a few days before the event was actually happening. So we're in Greece for a few days. It's not like we get there and then the next day we're doing the ritual and then everything's normal. It's, you have a few days. So the big joke was Saturday night,
Saturday night
was
when you were, because Saturday we were doing the ritual. So everyone, you'd see couples on the tour and they're like this, and we're like, Saturday night, and then you can be good to go. But what it actually was is it's this old rite, the Eleusinian mysteries, and it's an ancient Greek thing, and just about every Greek person would do it at least once in their life. And it was inspired by Demeter and Persephone and all that. So it's very rooted in very, very, very ancient ideas of going into the underground and coming back and what mysteries that can bring you. So it harmonized perfectly with our goals, right? We were essentially trying to get information from the other side. That's what paranormal investigators, part of what they do. So, hey, if there's something to learn from that, I'm in. And so we went to the oldest, I believe it was the oldest amphitheater in Greece. And it's just there. We walked up, we were all in white.
Gates or anything. You just drive up and there it's there.
We're all in white. We're all barefoot. And off in the distance is Neptune's temple right on this cliff over the sea.
Which was incredible.
Just amazing. And so the ritual was very cool. It was all about this woman, Catherine, reaching out to the 12 gods, right? The 12 Greek gods, and asking for blessings and all this stuff. And we had to say stuff in Greek, and she told us what it meant and all this. And it's interesting because what we try to bring these people into is not anything that would be offensive. It's non-committal stuff, but it gives you a taste of what this stuff is actually like, and it transforms everybody. After one of the things that she said she was doing was, hey, I'm going to open up everybody's kind of spiritual eyes or whatever for this trip. So this was near the beginning of the trip. And by the end of the trip, the last few days, people are like, can you shut it off? Can you shut this down? Because the whole trip was spiritually mind-blowing for everybody involved, to the point everyone's like, I can't take anymore. So it was really, really just a beautiful thing. And like when we were we did this in other countries too, but that Greek one was phenomenal. And Michael, you would have done it. You would have had a blast. It was
something.
The toughest part of it was standing on broken old marble with bare feet. That's about it. But
we went, what is it, the Parthenon? Is that the first place?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you used to, and we learned this after the fact, but you used to be able to go up there, take your shoes off, and just kind of walk around barefoot and feel, because it vibrates up there.
Everyone feels it. You feel like almost like a pole to the ground. Like you feel like you're very rooted.
Not like you can't pull away from it, but you feel like it's pulling you down. But so we did. We took our sandals off. We were walking around barefoot, and we're like, "Whoa, this is cool!" And then
got everyone else doing it.
Not guard, but someone up there was like, "Please put your shoes back on. You're not supposed to. This is a museum." I'm like,
they recently changed it from a landmark to a museum, and so once it hits museum classification, you can't wear your shoes. You have to wear your shoes. And
but we did it.
Better ask forgiveness, I guess.
And permission.
But it was amazing. Like Greece was very, they do a lot of, what is it called? I don't know if you want to go that deep, but anyway, it was very different, both paranormally, spiritually, and just weird of the world kind of stuff going on there. And we had a fantastic group with us. Everyone was very open-minded.
But there were people who were less open-minded whose minds were open.
Yes.
Like they're just like, I'm here because my wife's here. And then by the end of it, they're like, holy cow.
Like
this was
Pan's cave.
Yeah, there's a place that we went to called Daveli's Cave, right? Which was an old place where they worshipped Pan. who's ancient kind of earth deity, or being. And he, originally they never built temples for him. There are a couple now, but he would just be worshipped in natural caves and stuff. It's that old. And we went there, and wild stuff happened there. But it's so crazy there because the government had gone in and taken over that cave back in the day and done experiments in it. And that there's still a little bunker building there from when they did that.
Mhm.
And they sealed off parts of the cave once they left, but people would see all sorts of weird things coming out of there, weird
Creatures
beings
or
and
aliens
things.
or
Those
you
are
know.
claims, right? So
Yes,
we didn't
claims.
experience that, but you walk in the cave and you look at the walls, and the rock isn't moving, but there's some field or something going on in there, and everyone could see it.
It looks like it's breathing.
It's
Like
like
it just was
shifting
kind
and
of like
stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
And so we went down in there and we did some meditations and things, and phenomenal stuff happened. But we could talk all day about all this stuff.
Some of our group started walking down in that cave, and they're like, I don't like the way this feels. And they went back up and waited, but it was very, very interesting. Greece is very cool. You know, you think of Mykonos and the windmills and the white is Santorini and all that. You know, it's beautiful, relaxing beach, ocean place. But when you go to the historical side of it and the paranormal side of it, like there's so much there. It's wild.
It's still alive, and just the vibe of the place is wild. But yeah, this cave was wacky. They did like Montauk like experiments there, where they're experimenting with consciousness and generating thought forms and things like that. And if you've ever been in those situations before, which we have, as soon as we got there, we're like, no, okay, a lot of this is there's a natural side of it, but then the man-made side is very uncomfortable when you're near it. And it was interesting to bring these people we brought them to a location near it to investigate this abandoned hospital. And they were all like, this feels strange. It feels strange. And they couldn't put their finger on it until we explained, like, hey, they're probably still actively doing some of these experiments up here quietly and secretly, because this vibe you're feeling, we're used to going into haunted places and feeling that type of vibe with our body, but this was very different and it's very uncomfortable. And people were having some weird side effects to it, but
very weird side effects. But we also standing outside that building, as soon as we were done investigating, we hear a plane flying by or getting close or whatever. And it's bright day, blue sky, no clouds. And we see this plane, like look up, and this plane goes across the sky, very close to us.
Yeah, like a Cessna, like a two-seater thing.
And then disappears on the side of the building. And immediately the same plane appears in the sky right as soon as it disappeared. It was right in the sky again and went across. Like
it was low enough we could see the numbers on it, the tail numbers, and they were the same. And we could only hear one plane at a time. As soon as that one went to and everyone experienced this, as soon as it went to the other side of the building, the sound stopped and appeared again.
It was wild.
As the other plane came. So it was stuff like that. And, we had some people that really had some problems. They got nauseous or emotional. And some people had experiences where they were seeing themselves phase out. I mean, I can't speak to it, but it was crazy. And we had to explain to them that this is not a natural thing. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. Yeah. When we get back away from here, you'll be good. So, I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but Greece was crazy.
Some of the weird stories.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that like the people are going to these things with looking for enlightenment, awakening, and stuff like that, finding questions that they have to things that they may have experienced through the life. Is that part of what they're looking for going on some of these trips? I feel like everyone comes for a different reason. Usually we'd like to try to start the trips and ask people, like, why are you here? What do you expect out of the trip? And that's always a beautiful time, because at the end of the trip, you ask them again and to see if they were able to achieve their goals. But
A lot of people just wanted to see the location, or they want to hang out with the ambassadors or whatever. They always get more out of it than they anticipated. We do have a lot of people who are super brave who come, and it's just them alone. And I don't know that I could ever do that. But those people are very brave, and they come in and they get immediately enfolded into a group of like-minded people.
Mhm.
And I think once they've done one trip, they're eager to do another for that camaraderie. I think that's really, everyone goes for different reasons, but I think they all come away from that with the same kind of feeling. And that is that the best part of the trip were the people that you spent it with. And that's not us. That's these people still talk, and they all hang out and they visit each other and stuff after these trips. And that's what a lot of people need, because some of these people, they come on these trips, and like we've had several, let's say women, for example, whose husbands don't care about this stuff at all, and they have no one to talk to. So they come on these
Not
trips.
that they're not supportive of them.
No. Yeah. They just don't care about the paranormal. Right.
So
that doesn't mean it's a terrible marriage or anything.
no.
But these people come and they find that release, they can talk about this stuff. So it becomes very, very cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anthony, more on Greece, because we need to move on to Japan.
No, I'll hold my questions.
Oh, all right, we're here.
Okay, so obviously a couple months later, you guys went to Japan.
Yes.
And another trip that I was robbed of, but that's okay. I will be making up for it, especially if she goes back, because I will be a part of that one.
There are
So I'm going to start with this, because I noticed, again, after shaking my fist at some of your photos from the trip, but I noticed one posting from you, Grant, and it was like 2 days in, something like that. But you had said, like, you're already being changed, like you're already experiencing something. I mean, you didn't go into any details, but you already feel like you're changing as a person by being in this, by doing this tour. Can you kind of talk about that, like exactly what you were referring to and what brought it on?
Well, I've always had a draw to Japan, the Japanese culture, the language. We watch anime here and there, and I just love the food, love the culture, love the idea of it. And it's always fascinated me. And then, when we start to really dive into ancient belief, and how everyone on the planet kind of saw the world the same way. They added their own toppings to it, but they saw it their own. Everyone saw it the same way. And we are doing our research. We've stumbled upon some really amazing truths that resonate deeply with us, and we put them to the test, and they prove that they're true. And then you go to a place that is the most successful society built on animism in the modern day. How they can be so, their whole Shinto, right? Their belief system, which it's not really a religion, is huge and resonates a lot with us and our experiences. And so to be in a country where they have that kind of respect for the world around them, you think about you're in Japan, and where you look, once you get out of Tokyo, but everywhere you look is, Tokyo is beautiful, but everywhere you look is a beautiful picture. And you're like this with your phone, because it's all beautiful, because they got it. They got that harmony. And so they put that building in the perfect place. They respected nature. They respected the earth. They respected any entities that are present there. They respect the dead. They just resonate immensely with how we view the paranormal. And look, the paranormal field is has exploded, with Ghost Hunters and all these other shows. And we're grateful for that. It's nice to see the awareness and for people to embrace what we embrace. But, I've said it before, the ship is kind of veering left of center with the paranormal field. And it's really been hard for us because we see the humanity of it, not the gadgets, not the shock factor, not the spooky factor. It's all very beautiful and it's all very connected, and we understand it now more than ever. And so to be in a place where that stuff resonates, to see people embrace the paranormal the same, in its very similar way to us with so much respect, it was just simply amazing. The amount of respect and like the spirit world is here for them. You know what I mean? Like it's not off on some other planet. Because if you put your spirituality hopes on another place, say heaven or whatever, or Valhalla, whatever you believe, right? Then that promise of another land that is better than this makes you look at this land like it's trash. Right. And so all of a sudden this world becomes disposable because it's just a pit stop on your way to something better. Where the Japanese mindset is, no, we are part of the world and the world is here and it's beautiful. Like, why do we have to look somewhere else? And so it's that type of stuff. I'm waxing poetic, but you get
it. Like Fuji, it's not just Mount Fuji, it's Fujisan. It's a person. Yeah. And we went to a village that the whole mountain around it is the temple. Like it's a person, it's a being, it's not just a mountain. So everything they really recognized that everything is a person. Yeah. And they respected that and loved it. And it was awesome.
Yeah. What was cool there is we were able to hang out with the Yamabushi, which are these mountain monks. And yeah, you go to all these temples and shrines, right? So a shrine is Shinto, a temple is Buddhist, and sometimes they combine. So we saw all these and they're beautiful, but this one, like she said, the whole mountain was the shrine. So you see these monks come up and they're very cool, down to earth people. They have iPhones and stuff, but they seek enlightenment through moving through the mountains. So they hike these crazy trails and stuff, and that exertion helps them, find enlightenment. But they have these big conch shells. And so whenever they get to the edge of the mountain, there's a big torii gate to mark what's sacred ground, those, I'm talking about torii gates, and they blow the conch and to let the kami, all the spirits, to wake them up and let them know they're coming. And we were able to hang out with them, chat with them, eat lunch with them. And they helped us build, we couldn't get the conchs, they're too expensive, but they helped us build these horns out of bamboo. And so we made them ourselves and we were able to play them with them, and we were just laughing and having a good time. And we helped participate in a Buddhist prayer for healing, and it was just fantastic. Like I mean, you can go to Tokyo, you can eat the ramen, you can climb the Tokyo Tower, or you can do that, you know what I mean? And that's the stuff we love to do. So shake your fist again, Michael.
No, I believe me, I'm torn because those experiences are amazing, and it's one of those where like I really wish that I could have been there to experience that.
Same.
And well, you got to. I don't know about same.
No, we wish you could have been there.
Oh, okay. I like you were saying, yeah, I wish I could have done that too. Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
But I mean, it's complete jealousy is what it is. I mean, on my part, I just, and as an investigator, I want to investigate these places. I mean, I really want to, but it's also to take in the energy of the place. It's also to have those type of just conversations with people in those cultures and to learn how they do what they do and why they do what they do.
Exactly.
So, I mean, Rianna, did you have kind of the same experiences as Grant? How did that go for you?
yeah, we were talking the whole time about how amazing it was. And like we do exercises, paranormal exercises with the group as we go. We try to find different locations that allow us to do like it's like a little investigation without being obvious that that's what we're doing. So we'll kind of like go to a place, and we did this when we first got the group together in Japan. We went to this, like, I guess it was a park.
It was a ruined shrine, yeah. Like anyway.
Yeah, and we get up there. It's very quiet. You can tell where the old shrine used to be. Like the foundation is still there, and there are a couple other people that aren't with our group around. But the idea is you walk around and you kind of get a feel and look at everything that's there, and then we come together and we close our eyes and just try to recreate the space in your head, and see, like, where are you drawn? Are you hearing anything? Do you see anybody? And when people really start to reach out that way, it's really fascinating what comes back. The very cool part about it is when we start talking as a group, like who has an experience they'd like to share, thoughts, that came to them during this exercise. There are so many stories that overlap. Like we see the same person in the same place, or we're drawn to the same area over here. We had a lot of that. And what was even more interesting is that the entities on the other side Japan was wild because they were very aware of our group. And when we did reach out, we got a lot of attention back in a good way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't astronomical and, knock you over kind of experiences, but beautiful, peaceful, and very warm and inviting.
Yeah. So the problem is you go to these other countries, right? And they have various degrees of acceptance with what we do. Yeah. Like when we were on the call with Maria, right? We're talking about equipment. I'm like, keep your equipment at home, like bring some stuff, but it has to stand on its own 2 feet, right? So like if you bring a thermal imaging camera, no one's going to question, okay, he's using this for work or whatever, right? But if you bring, the Ghost Extractors 5000 from somebody's made in their garage, right? Like you can't explain that to these people who don't speak English as a first language and all that, and they'll take it from you. So we've developed, our research has provided us with these techniques that we can use to really connect with people on the other side without having to stare through this technological mesh of equipment, right? And so when we go there, we're able to investigate at any time, all day, every day, wherever we go, with some of these techniques and without offending anyone. So we're sitting in these really, really kind of sacred places in Japan, and we're having paranormal experiences, and no one could tell. Mm-hmm. It's really, really beautiful. And this technique that Reanna is referring to is really, really effective. By recreating this space in your head, you're removing this physical layer. You're removing your eyes and ears, right? You're playing to the liminal nature of your body, right? We're body and spirit. If you're here listening to the show, you at least are open to the idea. So it's not that crazy, right? That you have a body and a spirit, right? And so we're able to detect things better than equipment a lot of the times because the equipment doesn't have that spiritual component, right? Like there's been many times we're investigating where we'll see the same figure. We go independently, tell another investigator what we saw to make sure we're not contaminating each other, right? I'll come to you, Michael, and I'll tell you what I saw. Reanna will then come to you, tell you what she saw. And if they overlap, then we actually saw the same thing, right? If we haven't talked. Well, there have been several times where we've been in that situation and been able to take a picture. We see the same exact entity as proven by that protocol, but the camera only captures mist, right? Why are we seeing a detailed figure while the camera only captures mist? Well, the camera is only built to detect certain vibrations in our reality, right? So the camera is designed to capture photonic vibration, right? That's why we see colors and all that stuff. But it can't detect the spiritual side because we don't have the ability to detect spirit. Every single piece of equipment we ever use is designed to detect vibrational reality. Every single thing we see, hear, touch, feel, taste, every piece of equipment we've ever designed is designed to measure a vibrational reality, a vibration. None of it's detecting spirit. It's detecting the effect that spirit has on our reality, right? So when you get that EMF field, we're not detecting a spirit. We're detecting the wake left by that spirit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do this technique, right, we're playing to that liminal nature of our body, right? So we see the space with our eyes, then we close our eyes, and together, all these people quietly recreate it in your head. So now it's existing in a spiritual mental place. And then you can move through that place mentally and more likely interact with entities there rather than running around with a K2 meter and infrared goggles. We're too busy trying to see stuff. We don't need evidence anymore. We need understanding, right? I don't need to prove anything to anybody. It's real. I've seen it. I've been 35 years of my life dedicated plus to this stuff. It's there, right? The problem is understanding it, right? I can't solve your problem if I just have a picture of you. I need to talk to you. I need to understand you. So we get these people together. You build this space in your mind and you move through it. You move through the space mentally, and people interact with entities. They get names, researchable, verifiable names, information, dates, things like this. And like she said, we get back out of it and people's stories overlap. They'll see the same people and all this stuff. And then we tell them, okay, now go to that area that you experienced in your head with your equipment if you have it, or just go and see if you feel anything there, see if you connect with anything there. And the extra added benefit of this is that when you come home from Japan, if you've taken enough good pictures or you have a nice mental image, you can sit in the couch in your house and go back there and reconnect with these entities. You see what I'm saying? This is the beautiful thing. So when we're in Prague, right, and we visit some of these places, you'll hear us encourage people to do this. And then when you're home, you can keep going back there. If you make connection with an entity, you can still help that entity because you can use your liminal nature to go back to that space and connect with them in that spiritual world. Does that sound wacky, or is that?
Well, I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, they're going to follow me home." Like, no.
That's not what we're saying. You can go back there.
You can go back there and connect. So you always have control over that. Even
then, if they follow you home, it's like they're people, guys. They're not leeches. They're not interdimensional leeches, right? They're people, and you can help them in your pajamas at your house, like it's
or tell them, I'm not comfortable with this. You need to leave.
Yeah, or tell them I'm not your guy. Sorry, go talk to someone else.
Yeah. I always have one rule: they're not allowed in my room.
There you go.
That's it.
My rule is they're not allowed to wake me up. If they wake me up, I'm not helping you.
My rule is I'm here for you. What do you need? No.
Anthony.
No, I'm waiting to get to the forest, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, let's get to the forest then. So one of the big reasons that I wanted to go on the Japan trip was because on it's a long list, but near the top is the suicide forest. Yes. And if you've been in the paranormal field, not even as an investigator, just in general, like there's nobody who hasn't heard of like the obscene amount of stories that come out of the suicide forest. And when I saw that on the itinerary, it was like, oh my, like an OMG type of moment. Didn't get to go. You did. But I mean, standing there, I mean, whether you went in or not, but like just standing on the perimeter, or if you went in, like what was that like for the both of you?
So it's called Alkogihara.
I
had it.
Alkogihara forest.
Good.
Go ahead.
That means the sea of trees, which is a beautiful name, much more beautiful than suicide forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to find tour guides that will take you there.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese are very afraid of that forest. We know it's huge and you can easily get lost. We were lucky to find a guide that would take us there. And she was respectful, you know, of our goals. We made sure she understood, like, we're not going there to try to find ghosts and all
we're
that.
not here to upset anyone.
We're very respectful. We respect this place. And the Sea of Trees, because the volcano there, Mount Fuji, right? Is it Mount Fuji? Mount Fuji. Anyway, the way the lava has come down and the trees have grown from it, it looks like the trees are coming out of an ocean of lava.
Yeah, the
It's
ground
beautiful.
is very much like undulating, like it's not flat or big hills. It looks like the waves of an ocean with trees growing out of it. It's beautiful, beautiful.
And
it's all covered in moss and everything.
Oh, it's so pretty. But the feeling there is not spooky. It's not eerie or mysterious. Like, the feeling was very peaceful.
Yeah.
Just,
I was surprised.
I think it was one of the most peaceful places I've ever been. Just very lovely. But I know that, and I'm sure for anybody who's done research there, like, you know, it's a place that people will go to get lost on purpose sometimes. And that's why it's called what it's called, whether they're in trouble with the mafia there, or they don't feel good enough in their family or at work. Like, there are a lot of different reasons why people will go there. So it was interesting that the feeling that we got was very peaceful. It's almost like, and we very much felt like the entities that were there trying to bring comfort and trying to bring peace to anyone who came.
Yeah, we went in there with a different mindset. We did not go in there with, you know, the YouTube, let's go spooky. We didn't go in there with that, you know, with the thumbnail of us going, you know what? We didn't do any of that, right? We went in there with respect, and we went in there knowing that people who went in there, like she said, there's a lot of pressure in Japanese society, and others weather it better than some. But a lot of people go in there with that intent to just disappear, right? But we went in there with the intent of, like, we had to talk with the group, like, hey, okay, these people here are not monsters. This is not a Halloween haunted house. We're going in there because these people needed help. And so we talked a bit about the entities we've talked with through our experiences that had
throughout
committed
the years,
that had committed suicide and came back, and we were able to talk to them. And, you know, we were able to share with them that every single person that we have interacted with on the other side who had committed suicide, they all do it for a different reason, right? But they all realized it didn't work.
Well,
right. And they realized that basically every single one of them was eager to prevent other people from doing that, what they had done. Right. So they would work hard with the living people who are in those situations to try to prevent them from taking their own life. And that's been a blanket kind of consensus from everyone that we've interacted with on the other side who had committed suicide, from people who did it just because they just did, to people who were trying to remove themselves because they knew they were trouble, or people who were escaping things. They're all like, well, that, you know, that
they wish they hadn't.
Yeah, they wish they hadn't, and they want to keep people from doing that again. So we had this mentality going in there, like, okay, let's go in there peacefully, and if someone is struggling, let's hear them out, let's help them. And so we walked through this beautiful forest, and it's just gorgeous, and the feeling is so serene, I think, because we entered it in the right way, and we were embraced by whoever was there. And we did one of these exercises, and it got very emotional very quickly, because it wasn't just the Japanese who came through. You know, one woman saw a Japanese man who always wanted to be an honorable guy, and like he wished he could be a samurai type figure where he was clear fighting bad for, you know, like he wanted to be this, but he was stuck as a banker or something, you know, and just didn't feel like this was the life for him. But then it wasn't just stuff like that. There was one of our guys who was a veteran, and he was crying because one of his buddies who had passed, you know, came to him there. And, you know, a lot of people think you have to go to a location to experience the entities there. Yes, that helps. but that helps us, open our mind.
Puts us
You
in
don't
the
have
right
to be in a particular
mindset.
place, honestly, to experience it. But there were all these beautiful stories, everyone going around telling them that they were visited by these people. Sometimes they forgot about who came in, and some of them had committed suicide and some of them had not. And I think we entered that place almost like the nurses or the aides or the doctors. We came in looking to help, the right mentality, and the forest. The whole experience is beautiful. I know this is not what you expected to hear, Michael. I know,
No,
but
it's been great.
It's just, again, the paranormal is not a spooky Halloween haunted house for us. They're people, and it always ends in something beautiful every time. And that was one of the most amazing experiences we've ever had. The beautiful, peaceful forest, it's nature, and it's beautiful. And everyone who came through was really sweet and really healing. It was just incredible.
It's super personal, so we won't share details, but someone came through for us.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming by going there with reverence and respect, that's what you got back from it. You got a positive experience, as opposed to someone who goes there looking for spooky, scary, jump scare stuff, which is one of the things that's what I wanted to ask you, but you kind of already answered it about that, going in there like that and getting that response from it. Cause I did think if you went in there with respect, you wouldn't get quite the same response as someone going in there and shaking the trees, I guess, or rattling things up to try to get a response.
Exactly right. So, I mean, think about it. Again, if you just apply your everyday life to the dead, everything kind of clicks very quickly, right? So if I come into your house and I'm like, oh, hey, I brought you a gift, and, very pleasant. I take off my shoes, wipe my feet, whatever, and very, very considerate, right? You're going to give that back. You're going to be glad you invited me in, right? But if I come in and start pushing you around and breaking the stuff in your house, right? It's not going to be a pleasant experience for you. And this is the problem with a lot of, ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, is they go in acting like these are things, and they're weird, and it's a sideshow, it's a circus act. And so they basically are receiving information from the other side saying, I don't want you here. And so them having these negative experiences make them continue to see the paranormal as something spooky, where if you go in there with love and trust, sincerity, and all these things, you get that back, and they communicate so much better with you. And it's like, stop trying to find the holy grail of evidence. That's not what it's about. I like to say that I like to compare it to poetry, right? Think of paranormal investigators or ghost hunters as poets, right? And so they're trying to write better poetry by using different or more pens, thinking the pen will write better poetry. And we don't need that. We don't need more pens. We don't need to try different pens. We need better poetry, right? And you have better poetry by understanding and conversing, right? So I'm not saying no technology is good. You have to know when to I'm not saying it's not all. I'm going to say it's all bad. I'm just saying you have to know when to use the right tool at the right time. But it's not the tools that get the job done. It's the mind, the heart, the sincerity, the communication, the respect.
And I think that's one of the big things that we learned from Suicide Forest, Sea of Trees, is, especially I brought up that we had a personal experience there too, because when Grant and I work with tours or events or different things, we're there for you. We're there for our guests, and we want to make sure that they have a great experience and understand what's happening for them. So when something happens that's directed to us, I don't expect that.
Nor do we necessarily want it. We'd rather them have an experience.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it just being in a place where you're being genuine and open-minded to the paranormal, you'd be amazed at who can come through, or who wants to reach out to you. I mean, Americans in Japan, hours and hours and hours away from their home, have an experience with a close friend or
In Japan,
a family member,
you don't expect
in
it.
Japan, you expect it to happen at a place you went together, back home, or, some cemetery or whatever. The place doesn't matter necessarily. It can happen anywhere, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's cool because a lot of people would ask, they had these experiences like, why is my military friend coming visiting me in Japan? I said, because you're in the right mindset here.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter where you are. You have to understand that when you're at home, you're doing your thing, you're focused, you're never taking the time to put yourself in this situation. And so the resonance works, everything harmonizes, and boom, it makes it very easy for them to come through. In fact, like our technique now is very, 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 I guess, evolved from what people know us from the show. And I mean, the shows are edited, so you only get so much. Anyway, you see the very small tip of a very large iceberg, but it's a very different process, and it's built on respect, and it doesn't really, like she said, it doesn't matter where you are. It just matters how you connect. And so when we get interaction with an entity through equipment or whatever, a device that can give us interaction, and we verify that we're interacting. We're at a position now where we've boiled it down to 5 questions. So if we ask an entity these 5 questions, we can know exactly where they are through the process in the afterlife and help them through it. We don't have to know specifics. We don't have to know what year they were born. We don't have to know names. We don't have to know any of this stuff. 4 yes or no questions and 1 that asks for a number. We can know exactly, I mean, oftentimes it's less than 5, but we can know exactly where they are, give them the advice they need, and they take it and they go. And then they'll almost always come back and report and say, yeah, that worked. What next?
Yeah.
And we do all this stuff from our home, and it's been very rewarding because we're truly helping people. We're not just like, trying to capture an EVP and be happy we call an EVP. We don't stop there. We start there. You get an EVP. That takes effort, and you have to respect the entity for taking that effort enough to try to understand it and try to do the homework. Everyone wants the entities to come to them and say it all to them, and then they're just happy they got interaction. They don't care about what it means. You got to be a detective. You got to figure this out. You have to meet them halfway. And I'm babbling. Anyway, good stuff.
That's good.
Oh, good answer.
So yeah, how you approach a location absolutely will affect how. In fact, we did a case in the A&E Ghost Hunters where we were at this location, and we were supposed to do a different case, but that fell through. So we had this kind of like rush case come in, and so we didn't have the normal amount of time to vet it as we wanted to, and we got there and we heard the stories from the owner. And they were all just like crazy stuff. And the history he was talking about was really kind of bad.
The entities were awful and mean and
yeah. And the
scary.
history, like the people were tortured in this place, all that stuff, Ooh. And the producers love it. And we're just like, huh, okay. And so we do an investigation, and we had investigators get sick. We had people getting pushed around. It was not a good time. And then we were like, okay, we got to take a break here. And so we took a minute, and everyone did the research. We went and talked to the history, the historians and everything. We talked to everybody, and we got the real story. And we went back and investigated again with the real story and had a beautiful time. Right. So when it came to the review, we're like, okay, here are your facts that you were operating on. And the guy was innocent in it. Right. He didn't know. Here are the real facts, and here's the difference, So yes, people can come in here and investigate this place, but you have to operate on the facts. These entities are not happy that you're saying this stuff. These are the wrong stories. So it does really matter. I mean, they're people, right? It's not hard to fathom.
No, you act like a jerk, you're going to get treated like a jerk.
There you go. Done.
I'm so your comment yesterday, Grant, about two-parter. I'm writing down the topics that we don't that we need to discuss during part 2. So as expected, we kind of have to move on.
Whatever, we'll talk forever.
Well, good. This is now a 3-hour show. Congratulations, everybody. But I mean, you have 3 more tours coming up this year. Is that
Yes, we have the Prague tour,
which is like 2 weeks.
It's a 2 week. It's still some availability if people want to go on that one, which is going to be a blast. I know Alchemy
and their
Cat,
payment plans and stuff. So yeah.
Then we have this really interesting one. It's the first trip of its kind with Maria. It's we're going to Paris on we're taking a cruise ship out of Lyon, and it goes on down the river, the Rhone River. So we'll go there, and we're on a cruise ship with it's us and Dustin Pari and Brian Cano, and we own the ship. We have this river boat, and it's all for us. There's no one else on the ship, so we can have great activities. We can do all sorts of stuff.
Great discussions. We don't have to try to find a little corner. Like, we got the whole ship.
Yeah, we be as weird as we want. And and each day we'll stop off and we'll go and we'll do some investigations and things. So it's really wild, because usually it's kind of like one ambassador and about 20 to 40 people, where this is a bigger deal. And then in end of November, early December, we're going to be in Austria for the Krampus celebration, which is really, really cool. We'll have Christmas markets and the Krampus.
More than one Krampus parade during that trip. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, which these Krampus parades, I'm not sure about, man. You have to sign a waiver so they can whip you or something. Like, what? Yeah. I'm not signing. No. But,
and you're not going to be allowed in. If you don't.
Got to experience the culture, I guess.
Bend over. I'm just kidding.
So, a small question about the Rhone trip. Who is your pick to who runs to the front of the ship and screams, "I'm king of the world"?
That would be you.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm not going on it.
You should go. Have to. Yeah. Talk to Maria. Make it happen.
Right. If she's willing to comp it.
I think it should be Dustin and Brian. Dustin and Brian should be up there, very romantic.
I was going to say, which one do you think is Rose?
Dustin will be Rose. Yeah.
Dustin will definitely be Rose.
Yeah.
I think he would own that, gleefully.
He would.
Yep. He would throw a $1 million piece of jewel away because of a fling he had back on a ship in the 1800s.
Grab a rose. Yeah.
Except it wouldn't be jewelry. It would be 1800s candy. He loves it.
Yes.
He loves 1800s candy?
He loves anything candy, sweets,
and
pie, donuts, you name it.
No, but like the candy dots that are stuck to paper?
He loves those things.
He'll be your best friend. You get him some of those stupid orange crunchy peanut things, marshmallowy peanut things, or whorehound candy, like weird stuff like this. Like stuff you see in a barrel at Cracker Barrel. He loves that stuff.
When you see him, ask him that question, not about the candy, but about whether he would throw away the jewel,
the heart of the ocean.
Yeah, and whether he would take on the Rose character in that instance. I would love to hear his answer.
Yeah, there's not enough room for Brian on the door. Right? Jack and remember that Rose?
Yeah.
She wouldn't let him on the door at the end, and he died. I think Dustin would not let Brian up out of the cold water. Yeah, he'd say, "See you later." I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm gonna have to write that down as another topic for part 2.
We're asking the real questions here today, guys.
The important ones. So yeah, like you said, we're only 2 weeks away from the Prague trip.
Yeah.
But there is still some room. When is the Rhone trip? That's July?
June. End of June. We fly back on my birthday.
Yeah, July 3rd is the comeback date. So I'll look it up because we have our trip to Colorado next week at the Stanley Hotel for an event. And then we come home and pack our bags and leave for Prague. and then we come home. I think we're home for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we leave for France. So I have to double check.
I'm going to take a nap just thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the end of June. Yeah.
Let me just say for the Rhone trip, Maria, if you're listening to the show at any point in time, I will be a corporate trash can if you will allow me to go on that trip. Like I would just sit there with my arms out and just let people throw trash at me all day long. Just want to throw that out there in case that's needed.
Okay.
June 24th through July 3rd.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. It's that's a hell of a trip. Especially since you do get to like leave the ship and still look at and visit historical locations.
And that's the beautiful part, because a lot of times when you're on these trips, you're exploring the country. So you might stay in a hotel 1 or 2 nights, sometimes 3 if you're lucky, but you're usually bouncing around. So this allows you to totally unpack on the ship. You're coming back to the same bed every night, and the food is going to be amazing, and then you have your little excursions throughout the day. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. We have some cool activities on the ship that we plan to.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
like
nice.
throw trash at Michael. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Well, you know what? Throw that on the itinerary and maybe I can sneak aboard.
Okay. It's going to be a great time for you.
So, okay. When you are not as an ambassador and going on these amazing trips, you guys don't just like sit back and put your feet up. Like you're still working on your own projects, and doing your own research, and that is now come to fruition, at least in one major aspect of it. So I just really quick, so like 4 years ago now, something like that, you told me that you were working on research that was going to blow my mind, and then never went into any details. And still to this day, I have no idea what you were talking about. So what was that the research that you were talking about? Is that like the starting point of what you just recently released?
Yes. So what we've like I said, what we've been doing since COVID, we've kind of been ignoring our own questions about our own experiences. Because I had really, really intense experiences when I was a child, starting around just about before I was 15, right at that mark where I turned 15. And it was real intense paranormal experiences daily for years. And I had friends with me that helped me verify that it was really happening. But at first I thought I was going nuts, because I was seeing things that no one else could see, and they didn't fit any box I was told of at that time, pre-internet days, and that curiosity, trying to understand what that was, led me to help people in their homes. Because in order for me to understand what I was experiencing, I knew I had to put myself in paranormal situations. And so I would talk to people about it, and they would have me come and investigate their home. And that started very, very young. But then it just kind of took over, and I was more focused on helping other people and just dealing with this on the side. Met Reanna, got married. Took me 3 years to tell her about my experiences. And when I did, she thought that it was really fascinating. So that was good.
I mean, keep in mind, we always talked about like ghosts and things like that. Because I grew up, I would see the dead, those who have passed, just like I can see him or I can see you. Like for me, it was very clear. And so that wasn't weird. And we talk about that stuff all the time. But his personal experiences, it took him years to tell me about.
Because they were a little left of center, right? They were not the typical thing. To the fact where, I mean, now in hindsight, it has all clicked. Like I get it all now. I understand it all. But what I'm getting at is that we just weren't. We were focused on helping others and not ourselves. And so we buckled down and really started to get to the bottom of it. And we realized that it seemed like the only advancements that were happening in the paranormal field were through tech, right? Like everyone is just really focused on trying to make tech that does this or does that, or, and that's great. We need that, right? And we need to invent inventions and all that. But it felt like it was just veering, like we keep saying, in a direction that I didn't agree with. And that doesn't mean I needed to stop it. I just needed to do it. We needed to do our way. And so we realized that, like, look, what we don't need more proof, right? They're already working on that. People are already building the tech. We don't need to ride that wave. Like, that's happening. What we need to do is help the world understand it better. And so we went back and researched ancient belief across the world, and studied even etymology, how words are formed and all that stuff, because there's more truth there than you might find in a history book, how words morph and their meanings. We've done all sorts of research, experimentation, and we've found just simply amazing clarity in the ancient way of thinking. Because if you want to understand how the dead work, right, how the other side work, how all this paranormal stuff works, you have to realize that the way we look at it now is through a huge filter of assumption and programming. So before there was major religions and major societies and all this stuff, mankind acted very, very differently. And there was this, like I said, there was this global kind of belief system that everyone adhered to loosely. And we're thinking, okay, we have to go back far enough in time to erase as much of that programming, that intentional programming to control people, to find the truth about what's really going on there. Like, we get the craziest questions, and people are making these wild assumptions, especially demons and things like this. People make these crazy assumptions. And it's like, you don't even realize that demons in the course of history of man is a relatively new idea. Like this is not very old. And so in looking back, you peel away these layers and these assumptions fall away. And what you're left with is something beautiful, right? Like, for example, a lot of people we talk to have problems because their church or whatever doesn't want them to investigate the paranormal. I mean, I experienced this in my life, that my church was very forgiving, but they were cautious.
They were concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. And almost everybody would tell me, like, oh, you don't know what you're messing with. Be careful. And I'm like, and you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? I'm staring this thing in the face every day. I know what I'm dealing with. And, but you find that these people make these assumptions. And so the paranormal becomes scary to people because they're making assumptions about what it is. And instead of going against what they've been taught and what they've been told, and looking at the greater expanse of mankind's history, what did the ancient people do? They weren't controlled by major religions. They weren't controlled by politics and society. I mean, they had their politics and all that stuff, but it was much more minimal back then. And so in doing this research, we found these amazing truths, and we put them into practice. Like these cultures we're talking go back to Neolithic times, right? The end of the Stone Age. These people were building massive monuments and portal tombs, these barrows that you see in England and stuff, these mounds that you can go in. They were building these things so that they could go and simulate death by going underground, so they could talk to their ancestors to get information that they need. Back in the end of the Stone Age, they were asking their people from the Paleolithic, the beginning of the Stone Age, how they lived life so well, right? So they would go to all these efforts. They would do drumming or dancing on the fire or mind-altering substances, building these structures, all in an attempt to better access the people who had passed so they could get information from them. To the point where they would build chairs on top of these stone chairs, and people go up there and sit up there and try to talk to their ancestors. Those have since been torn down because it became illegal. Why? Not because it was evil, but because it worked, right? Why do you think Why do you think religion worked so hard to stamp out these old ways? Because those old ways didn't need church. They didn't need religion, right? These people were already talking to the dead. They were already talking to these entities on the other side. And there was power there. There was control. There was warmth. There were relationships that were built. You know, I'm talking to my great grandmother. What's wrong with that? Why is that evil? We are raised to respect our elders, and then when we die, we don't talk. When they die, we don't talk to them anymore. Like that doesn't make sense to me. We're taught that these people have answers for us, and we're to learn and respect them. And then they die, and we stop calling them people. Right? People, when people die, we don't call them people anymore. They're ghosts, they're phantoms, they're revenants, they're all these other things. All of this is intentionally put there to separate us from the connections we can have with the other side. Right? The people in societies and religions saw the power of that, and they did everything to villainize it so that we wouldn't do it. We would have to rely on them for salvation, for success, right? So these are the type of things we're uncovering as we go back, and we're just scratching the surface here. And so when you study this, you start to see very clearly the programming that's been done. And so you try to remove these assumptions. And when you do, and the reality of it's not too far from what we know. It's just the one click to the left. And when you understand this, everything slides into place. And all of a sudden, fairies, shadow people, demons, ghosts, aliens, interdimensional beings, all these things are the same thing. And it all becomes very clear. All of a sudden, there's humanity, respect for everything around you, and you can build these relationships, right? Because think about it. When somebody, I know I'm going off. When somebody dies, right? Again, we're like taught, that's it. They're gone, mourn, deal with it, move on, right? And we grieve, right? But why do we grieve so hard at death? Why are we grieving? Because we've told ourselves that person is gone. But what we really need to be grieving is it's just they're not gone. It's just a change in communication, right? So if Reanna and I have been hanging out our whole lives, right? We're having a good time. And then she has to move away to wherever, Colorado, right? She has to move away. I'll be sad because I can't sit and hang out with her, right? But she's not gone. I don't just not talk to her anymore. I have to change the way I communicate with her, right? So I can't sit and chat with her. I have to get on Zoom or something like this. I have to write letters, or I have to call, right? So you're not mourning that the person's gone. If you're mourning that that person is unreachable now, then that's a lie. It's not true. You can still communicate with these people. You just have to change the way you do it. And you have to accept those new limitations. You have to learn to talk differently. And when you do that, those people are still there. And a lot of them need help. But most of them are just there ready to chat. And we've been doing that. And so, it's wild to me that, you can read in the Bible that like Christ literally raised a man from the dead, right? So here we have Walking Dead, right? This guy is now alive again. That's looked at as a miracle and amazing. But if I go and try to talk to my grandfather who's passed, I'm evil. That's not right. You see, which one is more weird? We're trying to talk to your grandfather, or like raising someone from the dead? That's strange. But I guess what we're getting at, long story short, is that we've come to some really amazing conclusions. And what we've done is we've organized some of them, and we've started a school online. There's only one course right now. There's a first level and a second level. And the first level is meant for everybody. Anybody and everyone can read this and take this class and get something out of it and see the world better and understand the paranormal better. The second level is not for everyone. It's much more engaging. If you want to just see the world differently, you go to level 1, and we'll help you see it all differently and connect some dots and remove some assumptions that really make it all very beautiful. Level 2 is if you want to actually actively communicate and you want to actively build things with people on the other side, which takes more commitment. It's not for everybody, and that's fine.
And just know too that all of it is a personal journey.
Yeah.
It's not a new organization or a new
it's not a religion or cult or anything.
It's
stupid.
not. It's all of it is a personal journey. It has to be that way, and it's a very beautiful thing that way. But we're very passionate about what we've learned and how we live, because it's very beautiful and very sweet.
And it sounds exactly like what a lot of people need right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like course 1, especially if you're a paranormal investigator, is going to be huge for you. It's going to be absolutely huge for you because it helps you to see everything differently. It helps you to understand what you're doing and what you're dealing with much, much better.
It really removes fear. We're not just saying this. We've gone through beta tests with several people on these of all walks of life, and the feedback we've gotten has been phenomenal. We have war vets that are like, I'm not afraid to die anymore. This has brought me so much peace. Like, what? For someone to say that, that's huge.
Very religious people that are like, this is awesome. Like different, same idea, different terminology. It's been very great experience. So.
Yeah. So we've tried to really kind of find the common denominator in spirituality and belief in how it all works, and give it a language, give it a verbiage that you can talk about, right? So we find these common concepts and we boil them way down so that we can all talk about it the same way, even though we're maybe thinking slightly differently, because it has to be, like Reanna said, a personal journey, right? Because religion is not spirituality. Religion is designed to help you find spirituality. Spirituality exists beyond religion, right? And that's what we're chasing. We have to understand how that world works, right? In order to conquer the unknown, you have to make it known. And that's what we're trying to do. And so the feedback has been great. Like people it really changes their mind. And it's interesting because as people go through, they might get to like the second unit and stop in their tracks and be like, oh my God, I need a month to process this. And others, struggle on different places. And it really comes down to relationships and vitality exchange. So everything in our reality hinges on relationships, right? Be that with anything, with your spouse, with your friends, with your work, with a video game, with a political party, whatever. Everything is a relationship, and there is vitality that is exchanged in relationships, right? We're doing it right now. We're having a chat. We're having a good time. You're getting something out of it. We're getting something out of it. That's a vitality exchange. And so if you understand these concepts and you apply them in the world around you, you'll have a much more balanced, what we teach, you'll have a much more balanced, happy, peaceful life. But that's training for how to then interact with the other side, right? So you have to be able to learn these skills with the people who are around you directly before you can ever be good at doing it with the people on the other side. And like we said, once you have all this information, everything that was weird in the paranormal, you might think is weird or hard to understand, makes sense. It makes more sense than the stuff that seemed to make sense beforehand. So I don't want to oversell it, but it's really, we're really proud of it, and it really has changed our lives and the completely way we investigate, and clearly it's helping other people too. So it's not something we're looking to broadcast from the hills, but if it's for you, it's for you. And if it's not, it's not. It's just that simple. Oh yeah. If you want to check it out, it's brand new. I mean, this is the first time we're really telling anybody widely about it. It's theunseenpathschool.com. Yeah. You can go there and learn a little bit about it. But I really feel that if everyone in the paranormal read this and truly, sincerely digested it, we'd make massive progress repairing the bridge that has been intentionally broken between us and the other side. There. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Like, whatever, guys. Okay.
He loves to teach, and he's very good. So it's just
I just put the website into the show chat for people, for them to see it. Anthony, anything?
Yeah, well, this gets into the interconnected thing because Grant already talked about it. Now, one of the things that for me kind of fell into place with that was finding Jacques Vallée's work, which basically he asserted that everything is interconnected. The things that we're seeing now are just things that had different masks or different looks to them in the past, and that they've kind of nudged us along the whole time. And that was just, I know Mike was curious about that too, as far as how things are interconnected. But like I said, Vallée, Lakatsky, Keel, they all, reading all their works, it kind of made perfect sense at roughly around the COVID time too, is when I think I've found or put those pieces together, that it was, you're not seeing different things. It's really the same thing, just different aspects of that thing or how it wants to appear to you. Is that kind of, and basically tuning into that frequency or allowing yourself to tune into that frequency. So people with gifts and stuff are naturally, or have tuned into that frequency. You're kind of guiding that to give people a better understanding of how to tune themselves into those frequencies.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, that might be somewhat of an oversimplification. In some ways, our view is even more simple than theirs. In other ways, not. I feel like, with the paranormal, humans have a habit of just over categorizing stuff, right? So like they'll see shadow, entities that are just black shadows, and now that's a new type of entity. It's a shadow entity. It's a shadow man. No, it's just a phase of manifestation, right? It's like, if you see me with the lights out, I'm not a different person than when the lights are on, right? Like, so there's this categorizing that people want to do, and there's always this quest to make your mark, and so you do that by these categories and things. And we're very, because of my personal experiences when I was a kid, they very much fall into the elemental realm. I was seeing creatures that no one else could see, and it was very hard time for me. I really thought I was going nuts, and my school suffered, and so my relationships at home suffered, and it was really, really tough. But people look at these creatures like the Fae or the elementals, and they like to build all these different categories, and that's silly, right? You can't make assumptions about people based on how they look or what they're doing, right? Like, just because someone is a redhead doesn't mean that they are good at solving crimes. I don't know, I'm making this up, right? It's like, you can't make these assumptions based on how people look and all that. Every time we do that as humans, it's a bad day. So what we're talking about when it comes to everything being connected, honestly, to me, I think to us, I should say, sorry, there are only 3 main types of beings in all of creation. There's the living, the dead, and the Fae. That's it, right? Because you think about it, everything is either local to our planet or not local to our planet, right? So if you're an alien from Mars, you're not local to the Earth, right? And then everything is either intradimensional in our dimension or extra dimensional outside of our dimension. I mean, that's it. You don't need more classification than that. You know what I mean? So there could be people that are native to our planet, but in a different dimension, and we'll never interact with them because we simply don't have the faculty to perceive them, right? What we perceive as humans is just a small sliver of what's really out there. So everything is connected. And what's interesting, there were 2 different studies that we kind of slammed together. And one was that these scientists they found out that the complexity of life on Earth doubles every, I think it's 300 million years. I don't remember what, it's some astronomical number, like 300 million years or something like that. It doubles I wish I knew the number. Sorry. So life gets more and more complicated, which goes against the whole way the universe works. Everything's supposed to get more simple, but that's a different story. Anyway, so what they can do is they could say, okay, how many cycles of this time going backwards do we have to do? How many cycles do we have to go through to get back to the most simple form of life? So we look at life now and we try to go back in time to when it was the most simple form. And then we can do the math at how much time it would take, how far back in our history that simple form of life was. And they did the math, and it's twice as old as our planet. So if life here on Earth life could have come to Earth at any point, but if you go back far enough, it started somewhere that wasn't Earth, right? And so what's interesting is then what we did is we went back and we looked at what was the environment of the universe at that time, 2 times older than Earth. And interestingly, the what we found is the temperature of the universe was still warm enough that there would be no, like, liquid water could be everywhere, right? So life could exist everywhere in the universe. Everything was hospitable. I mean, obviously new planets would be molten and all that stuff, but the universe itself wasn't cold, and it was warm enough to be able to sustain life, right? So you start doing the math here. Okay, let's say we go back twice the age of our planet, and we find that that's where life started somewhere. But if the whole universe was conducive to life, then as the universe cooled, right now, if life is everywhere, and as the universe cools, now that life starts to die off except on little places, right? So imagine like the United States of America, and it starts to flood, right? So everyone's living everywhere, but now we're all moving to the tops of mountains, right? So now we become isolated. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Right. So if the universe was teeming with life and then it started to cool, life would start to become separated from it on different planets that were hospitable. So what does that tell us about ourselves? And this is all just a thought experiment. We're just chatting here. But if those facts are true, then we all had a common ancestry, right? So someone who's on Alpha Centauri, whether they're in our dimension or not, doesn't matter. They're brothers. You know what I'm saying? You see what I mean? And
it's
so
just degrees of separation.
Yeah, I'm just throwing something out there to help make my point, but that's not the extent of it. That's just something to help you see the connectivity there. But there's way more. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but there's way more to chat about in the classes. Yeah. So it's interesting stuff. I think so.
It is.
They're asleep.
That wasn't the question I thought you were going to ask, Anthony, but
sorry.
So that's all right. So I guess let's just go into then the final topic that we were going to do, since that's pretty much an offshoot of what we were just talking about. So I have brought this up on the show with many guests. I cannot find, as I've stated, I cannot find anybody to agree with me on this.
Okay.
So and it's not saying that you have to. I'm hoping you will. I'm really much hoping that you will, though. So shows came out, namely Ghosts of Shepherdstown, Ghosts of Morgan City. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of surprised that I haven't seen any type of show pass those two about this specific thing. But what both shows narrowed it down to was that not all, but the vast majority of the activity that was going on in the towns that this one team of investigators were getting to all stemmed from one specific point. In Shepherdstown, it was the 1,000-year-old demon, is what they called it. In Morgan City, it was like some sort of outbreak that killed a whole bunch of people, I think in the 40s. and it caused spiritual unrest, supernatural unrest. But I'll stem back from those two specific points. And it got me thinking, if that's the case in these just isolated small towns where one team is able to, I don't want to say get all the cases, but enough to connect the dots.
Yeah.
To where like these are all connected to one specific thing. I then attributed it to what I go through. And I live in the Twin Cities, a very metropolitan area. Tons and tons of teams are in this area. And so if I'm only getting 20% of the cases, I'm not in a position where I would ever be able to make those type of connections that these teams do.
Yeah.
And so my question has been since, how many of these towns, how many of these like multitude of cases could be connected to one specific thing, but we're not able to see it because not one team gets the cases or all the cases, and no teams talk to each other due to confidentiality, ego, whatever you want to, whatever it breaks down to. Nobody talks about their cases with each other. And so since you've traveled the world now, I'm assuming once Ghost Hunters came out, everybody wanted you guys wanted TAPS to come and investigate their place, especially in your area in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So do you think that it's possible? Like what is your take on that sort of theory? Or am I completely insane?
Well, there's a lot going on there. I feel like the crux of the problem obviously is, I mean, there's just this long history of turf wars in the paranormal that has always driven us crazy. Back before the show, when we would meet at the coffee shop, TAPS would meet at the coffee shop in Warwick, Rhode Island. We would invite the other groups in our area to come and sit with us, and we would talk openly. Sometimes they come, sometimes they wouldn't. But it was nice because when we worked together, even though we were separate teams, we understood each other's strengths. And so we would pass cases to each other based on that. But in the process, you're sharing information. You can share information about cases without breaking confidentiality if you just have to be savvy. So I think that's the biggest problem, right? Is teams aren't talking. And I don't know, for some reason, people think they own locations and they own ghosts. And I will never understand that. That's why you are openly admitting you're a slave owner, right? Like you don't own people, like dead or alive, it doesn't matter. But no, you're right. You're onto something. We've had very many cases that have proven there's a bigger overarching story than just what you're dealing with. You're just dealing with a piece of the pie. Yeah, there's been several cases where you'll go in there and, everyone will think it's a demon or something, and that's a whole other subject. But they'll go in there and realize that no, these entities are being controlled. Yeah, they're acting the way they are because something has got dirt on them. You know what I mean? They're just people. Think how many people, are a slave to someone else.
Like we had a case in Texas that we went to. It had been a hospital. It had been, I think, a school at one point. But long story short, there was supposed to be this evil entity there, wreaking havoc. No one could be in there for very long, and the owners were trying to do something new with the building for the town, and asked us to come in. So what we learned through the process is that there was one entity that put fear into all the other entities that were there. And it is interesting, and I'm sure you've had this many times with your own investigations, but you can go into some of these big places and the entities there don't realize the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
Whether they are kind of locked in time in their mind or they're confused. There are many reasons why they don't understand the situation that they're in. So a lot of our work at that particular place was letting the entities know that you can make your own choices. This person over here that says you can't do XYZ, they don't own you.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. If they threaten you or they look scary, you can walk right by. We even had, it was a very religious place. And so one of the things that we told the entities too is, just because you're on the other side, it doesn't mean you can't pray. It doesn't mean you can't read your scriptures. Like do you and know that this person doesn't control you. And it made a huge difference. And the entity that was so big and bold and mean lost its energy and became more easy to deal with, and allowed us to work with that entity as well.
Yeah. So what she's illustrating is just a more small view of what you're talking about, right? So we've investigated whole towns, called in by the the mayor of the town and the Chamber of Commerce to come in and try to figure out what's going on in the town. We've stumbled upon occult activity that is taken over the whole town many times, and that's always a fun situation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what you have something?
No, I was just going to say, and maybe it's not ready yet, but when I think because paranormal groups, it's probably going to be difficult to convince everyone, hey, let's work together.
Yeah, that's not going to fly.
Yeah. So I think where it could be a big case where if you put all the pieces together, you could see it's a common issue. I think just as a paranormal group yourselves, you could just go in, again, treat the entities like they're people, explain the situation to them. And look, we're trying to help you, help us understand, and help your people over there let these other groups understand and what's going on. And then you can all kind of tackle it together. I think that kind of puts a little more work on them than you, because they have to intermingle with the people on their side, if that makes sense.
There's a technique we use too called gossiping, which is you're trying to get information about a particular entity, right? Which we don't really use as much now because we don't have to, but so you're not getting information about what you want. And so, or you're not talking to the person you want. And so you talk to who does come through and ask them about the person, right? I can't reach Reanna, so I'm going to ask to her friends about her. Like, when can I see her? Where would she be? What is she, and you get a lot of good information that way. And so in a situation like you're talking about, where you're one of a dozen teams in an area and you feel like there's something bigger than you feel like there's a meta plot, over instead of than what's just happening in your location. If you build a good relationship with those entities, that's key. They'll start talking, and you can say, hey, what about, does this tie into this? Does this tie into that? Do you know the guy who lives at this other house that you are not allowed to investigate, right? You can ask them. Or like we said, you could do that exercise we talked about at the beginning of the show. You can go to the place, or you can look at pictures online, recreate it, and move through it and see what you find.
And when you're waiting for the answers, don't just listen to your technology. Like, look around you. Look, if a book pops up or a magazine pops up somewhere, it may happen a day or two after your investigation. Like, just if you have a question that you've asked, make sure you're open to finding the answer when it presents itself.
Yeah, you can't pack up your equipment and go home and turn that off. Like that's not a phone you take off the hook. You're not limited to interacting with these entities at that location. If you ask them for help, they can give you that answer at any point in your life, any point in your day, right? This is what people are missing. You don't have to sit at that place to interact with the entity. You have to get there typically to build the relationship. Once you've built that relationship, you have their number in your phone, so to speak, and you can talk with them and you can get it done. We've done so much work in this very room you're looking at, helping so many people from all walks of life, living, dead, right here without ever having to leave this room. And beautiful things have happened, validation, everything. You don't have to, if you just build that relationship, right? This stuff starts to go away. The boundaries that mankind is putting up, these different teams and carving up the Twin City area. You don't have to, that doesn't have to be a barricade, right? So you're absolutely onto something. Many, many, many times we've had a bigger situation. We had a whole town that was being affected. We'll come to find out there was occult activity in the town, and all the entities as well as living people were being affected by it. The entities wanted it out as much as the living people did, right? You know what I'm saying? So you have to find these things. But again, if you understand, like if you're inclined to take our class, in there we explain some of this technique, right? Of how you don't need to know this big, massive picture. You just need to get these answers from the entities, and you can help them along. Because one of the big things we've come up with is we've been able to find this series of phases that all entities go through when they die. Everyone does it their own way, but they're all going through this process. And the process is not constructed by gods. It's just a natural kind of deprogramming process on the other side. But it has distinct phases. And so when you meet an entity, you have to identify where they are on this map, right? You just have to find out where they are, and then you can help them move through it. We don't have to solve the world's problems. We don't have to do all that. We just have to help one person at a time. So in these situations you're talking about, there are ways you can get around some of these limitations. But I don't know if your question is, does this ever happen? Yeah, absolutely. It happens. It happens a lot because people are jerks, and they can stay jerks when they're dead for a long time. And they can, you have to deprogram yourself in the afterlife. And so when you die, you're still that same person. You're just in a new place, and that place will change you, and you will change yourself. But old habits die hard. There are many times, a lot of investigators, like we've taught on ghost hunters, like don't provoke, but the message was misinterpreted. It doesn't mean that there isn't ever a time to provoke. People are just going in and provoking, they just walk in and move this chair. I'm going to leave. Well, I'm not going to move the chair because I want you to leave. Right. So there is a time when someone's being a jerk, you treat them as you would a living person exhibiting the same behavior. So you go in and you say, you're being a jerk. We're not going to tolerate it. Right. But that snaps them too. But then you meet them with understanding and love and sympathy, and you hear it out. You can't solve. There's no one solution to everyone's problems. Right. So you have to understand the person in order to solve the problem. You can't just walk in with a psychic and be like, it's time to go to the light. Well, that's great. Saturday at 6 p.m. is perfect for you, but is that perfect for the entity? For him to make this massive decision in their life to move on? No, calm down. Let's talk to the entity. Let's help them understand, and they can make that process. They can, perform that when they want. I don't know if we're answering your question, but.
I wish I could find my little sound bit that has Ken Boggle saying Michael's right. Like, because I just want to play that right now. You made perfect sense. It's exactly what I felt was the issue. But nobody seemed to agree with me, and I could just feel, obviously not all the time.
Why are people not agreeing with you? I don't understand. Like, what is their stand?
I agree. I'm so agreeable, but
I agree that you're agreeable.
No, I don't know. I mean, maybe they just didn't feel like there was hardly ever a thing where that was the case.
How can you look at the world around you with living people and think that never happens in the waking world, the living world? If it happens there, it can happen. If it happens here, it can happen there. There's people. Yeah. Right. So if you have a controlling, manipulative boss, why is it such a stretch to think that guy would be controlling and manipulative in the afterlife? We don't go straight until he figures himself out. Right. It's not. That's not.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the scale that I was talking about. I mean, because I agree with you. I've encountered, been to a lot of locations where, an entity had a very specific name, like the principal, the caretaker, and
Ugh.
and the story was always the same. They were in charge. So if you wanted to interact with the residents of the location, you had to appease him, because if at any time he didn't like you, one word and activity ceased. Like nobody would talk to you anymore. You would get nothing the rest of the night. I've gotten those cases. I get
100%.
that, but I mean, the multi-location, like citywide type connections. I guess people didn't think that was that much of a possibility.
No, so it is. That is absolutely true. We've experienced it. We call them communities, right? So like if you have a location that has never been, let's say, we'll go back to the one location place, right? Because the ramifications extend out. But if you go to a place that has been shut down, boarded up, shuttered for 50, 60, 90 years, whatever, and then you open it up, the activity there is going to be very, very unique. It's always fun to be the first person, especially if you have the right mentality, because there's been this microcosm, this community over that period of time of entities, especially if they all went for one reason, right? Like they all died in a fire or something. They sit there and no one has come in to shake them out of their world. So if you have an entity that is controlling, he's going to set a hierarchy and do all this. I'm assuming this person, he, she, it will create this hierarchy, this community. And there are definitely people in charge and people not in charge. And we've come across this many, many times. So when you get to the town level, like let's say there was a flood or something that wiped a town out, and all those people died at once, they're all going to be looking for each other, right? Right? Imagine if right now your neighborhood and stuff got completely flooded or something. You're going to check on your neighbors. You're going to try to help and solve this problem, right? And then you're all trying. It's like a plane crash on an island. You're all trying to figure it out together, and that creates these town-wide situations. And it can be for infinite reasons why this happens. You're 100% correct on this stuff. It's fascinating. I don't know why, but this story comes to mind. It's really cool. We go to Waverly. We've been to Waverly Hills, in Louisville, Kentucky. We know Tina there. She's a good friend of ours. But we would go there, and people go there, and it's like, oh, it's Mecca, and it's like crazy activity and shadows, and things throw things at you, and creepy crawlies going across the ceiling. And we're just like, stop with the Halloween stuff. Like, we go in there, and what we did find is, that was a community. I mean, that the people who were in there were in there for life, even the doctors, like they couldn't go back home. They had, because it was so contagious, the tuberculosis. And so people would get married in there. They would have dances. They built this community inside there. And the doctors, the staff of the hotel worked really hard to make their life as normal as possible. People were getting married, having kids, all this stuff. So you have this community, but that was their lives. And so when they die, right, that's the life they know. But it wasn't a typical structured life, right? You weren't completely free, and there were rules and all this stuff. And so it creates this interesting thing. But every time we've gone there, we have the activity was always distant, right? It was always like the end of the hallway, and you go down the hallway to check it, and it would be back where you were, right? So it's always running away from you. And we're like, what is going on? What is going on? And one time we went there, Reanna figured it all out. She goes, we were in there, and we were sick. We were coughing a lot, and they were keeping their distance. And because we were sick, she starts talking to him and saying, "Hey, we're not sick. Like,
we're not
from this
contagious. You can't get what we have,
and we can't
get what you have."
And we had to explain the whole vaccines and all this stuff, and that it's not a problem. We can't. And as soon as that happened, it clicked, and they all came, and we had an amazing conversation. They weren't playing pranks. They weren't being evil and devious. They were respecting us, making sure that we didn't get the disease. Like, what more do you need to know, guys? Like, the world needs to snap out of it. It's not this evil Halloween show. Like, Horror movies are fun. Halloween haunted houses are fun, but they're not real.
Well, and it's not.
You know what I mean?
It's not to say that you're going to have an entity that doesn't have fun making you scared, because that's what you expect.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, there's that too. We're not saying it's all roses,
Which happens
but
at Waverly. We've had people, it was prankster, like play a prank on them, and they would.
Yeah, but they're people.
But
They're people.
what I'm getting at is yeah, the bigger picture is, you're absolutely correct. We've experienced that many, many times. And it's not a stretch to believe it. I don't know why people wouldn't believe it.
Maybe they just wanted to get under my skin. I don't know.
It's like, you ever seen someone orchestrate a protest? Like, you can get people from all over the world to get to one place and do something together. Like why would that not happen in the afterlife? I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, so I've tried not to throw in any commentary of my own because nobody wants to hear me talk. But
you have a talk show, you know that, right?
Well, let me rephrase. They hear me talk enough.
Okay.
You know, now it's your guys' turn. But I mean, to your point, and this is something that I have encountered way more often than not in my investigations, and I've tried very hard to pass along this mentality to my investigators and anybody who wants to talk about the paranormal and stuff like that, new investigators. But I mean, you get all of these claims that somebody's stomping down the hallway, somebody is there's a big hulking black mass in my hall, or this gets moved, or something got tossed to me, and everybody's terrified, and naturally they go straight to it's a demon. It's got to be a demon. But and I try to tell people, I'm like, think of it this way, and this is to your point about they're still humans, they're still people. I'm like, think of it as, let's just say it's a former homeowner. Like, they don't understand that they've passed, or they still feel that this is their home. All of a sudden, to them, like, they just came home from work and there's a family living in their house.
Yeah.
How would you react? You would stop, you would yell, you would bang, like you would do anything to try to get them out of your house. That doesn't make them evil. It doesn't make their intentions malicious. So, and I found that anytime that I go in, even if something like somebody's got pushed or they feel like they've gotten scratched or something, I'm like, look, people are really scared. I get that. There's two sides to every story. So tonight, let's hear yours. And let's see if we can create where everybody is happy with the outcome. And so much more than not, that is very successful. Like, everything stops immediately because everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah, and we always say, like, okay, imagine you're in a room full of people, right? You're in a big conference room in a hotel and you need help, right? And you're running around asking people for help, and everyone's ignoring you. No one is reacting to you at all. And you're desperate for help, right? And then you look across the room and you see somebody notice you. They just catch your eye for a second. What are you going to do? You're going to run towards that person. Hey, yelling or running toward, hey, do you see me, right? And if they don't react, you're going to start to poke them. Or you may even say, hey, come on. Hey, it's me, right? I need your help. Right? None of that is aggression. But any of it taken out of context can be seen as aggression. Someone running at you yelling, that's not aggression, right? But it could be seen that way. Someone poking you, someone grabbing you, someone yelling at you, right? You have to assume, like, you have to throw fear out the window. You can't be afraid, right? That doesn't mean every entity you meet is going to be nice. Not all people are nice, but not everyone is inherently evil or inherently good. Everyone's some mix of both, right? Someone who can do really bad things is also capable of doing really good things, right? So if you tick them off, then you're only going to get that bad side, right? If you're good to them, then you're more likely to get the good side. So it's that whole thing of, like, you're a doctor, you're going to see, if you're a doctor, you're not going to see the best side of your patient, right? That's what we are. We're going in there and we're trying to help. And so you're going to see people. You're going there to help. So people are going to be in a confused, frantic, upset state most of the time, right? So you have to be an expert, not at what blinky lights mean. You have to be an expert at how to meet that person, calm them down, and talk to them, right? And we are at the point now where we are able to do that. There's not enough time to get too into it, but we're able to do that with negative entities too, because it's just fascinating, the stuff we've been able to do. But yeah, I think you're spot on. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's 100%. We've experienced it. Michael is right.
Michael's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna turn you into a soundbite now.
I could, but I already got that soundbite. So, although a collection of them would be very on brand.
How about Michael is not wrong? Doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
It doesn't have the same ring to it, because that leaves a measure of grayness.
Yeah,
like I'm not wrong, but I'm not exactly right either.
exactly.
Whereas if I'm right, I'm right. Well, look at that, Anthony. We had 3 topics. We only needed 1.
Sorry.
No. That's quite all right, because they're all getting moved to part 2.
Okay.
So, yeah. Odd times, just really quick. Again, where can people see you? Obviously, this Paranormal Day is coming up. Just really quick. What do you have on your agenda?
So people can find us on our social media accounts. You'll know if really it's hard to prove who you are nowadays, but you'll find us
Instagram and Facebook mostly.
Yeah.
As far as the trips, like we said, we got the Stanley next weekend. It's going to be a really fun weekend for Paranormal Days.
Yeah, there's going to be mixers. There'll be investigations, lectures, and all sorts of fun stuff going on there.
Yeah. And then, Prague in a couple weeks, and then France, and then Austria. And then you can check out our course online if you're interested in that, theunseenpathschool.com.
And then mysteriousAdventurestours.com is where you can join in on those trips. And we know things are crazy, but we just hope that if you can join us, you will. And we hope that you have a good time. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you both for making the time
Thank you.
to come on. As we said before the show, I was just doing Mariah a favor, and having you guys on. Just happened to work out and had an open space.
Thanks. I'm glad you could fit us in. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Any time, in a heartbeat. I guess that does it for this episode. Thank you once again, both Grant and Reanna, for coming on.
Thank you.
And just sharing everything that you have. And there's still so much more to go. But Anthony and I will be back next week with another brand new episode. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you back here. Everyone have a great rest of the week.